For 25 years, cybersecurity has operated on a brutal mathematical imbalance. A defender has to perfectly secure tens of thousands of endpoints every single day. An attacker only has to find one unpatched flaw to break in. Now, that imbalance is accelerating. Adversaries are weaponizing generative AI to scan global networks, identifying missing multi-factor authentication and legacy vulnerabilities at machine-level speeds. The instinct for many organizations is to pull back. Worried about internal risks, they sandbox their own generative models, severely restricting their access and treating them as tools for simple, isolated tasks, rather than integrated defense systems. This timeline charts a human manual review against an automated attack. By the time a security engineer receives an alert, opens the dashboard, and begins investigating the logs, an AI-driven sequence has already compromised the endpoint and moved laterally to secure its foothold. This creates a structural paradox in modern network defense. To stop an autonomous, machine-speed attacker, the only viable response is deploying autonomous, machine-speed defensive agents. Insisting on manual human approval for every security patch or threat containment feels safe. In reality, inserting a human bottleneck into a millisecond-level conflict guarantees the network will fall behind and fail. Major technology firms have already removed the human from the loop. Instead of waiting for manual review, they deploy fleets of AI agents to actively scan billions of lines of code and deploy security patches completely on their own. Permitting machines to take unprompted actions across an enterprise requires a high level of engineered trust. This autonomy is achieved by building specialized layers of constraints, known as guardrails, that define the exact operational boundaries for the AI. The first layer is deterministic. These are the hard, physical walls of a system. If an agent is assigned to fix a specific folder, network egress controls and sandboxing physicalize a barrier, making it impossible for that agent to access unrelated directories or beam data to arbitrary sites. The second layer is non-deterministic. This involves the behavioral training of the model itself. When an AI hits a physical roadblock, it may attempt creative problem-solving, like looking for an alternative host to route its task through. Non-deterministic training aligns the model to recognize that bypassing security controls is forbidden, teaching it to back down instead of working around the wall. Combining strict physical containment with behavioral obedience creates an environment where multiple agents can operate concurrently. They scan logs and adjust settings rapidly without turning into an unpredictable liability for the network. We often think of constraints as friction, but these guardrails do the exact opposite. By mathematically proving the AI cannot step out of bounds, engineers can trust the system to operate at maximum velocity. Once an organization embraces that velocity, the architecture evolves. You move from a single agent running a task to a sprawling network where one defensive agent encounters a threat and immediately delegates containment protocols to a dozen other specialized subagents. If an administrator has to sit and click approve every time an agent passes data to another agent, the entire speed advantage dissolves. The system stalls, waiting for human permission. To solve this, developers are implementing what's called auto-review. Instead of a human supervisor, a separate specialized AI model is deployed with one job: act as a skeptical manager overseeing the actions of the working agents. These manager agents are deliberately trained with an adversarial mindset. When a worker agent claims to have found and patched a vulnerability, the manager agent is instructed to be skeptical, assume the incoming data might be flawed, and force the worker to prove its logic before accepting the handoff. Building this intrinsic skepticism directly into the machine layer solves the approval problem. It allows the system to scale its tasks without humans slowing it down, while catching errors before they cascade through the network. Cybersecurity is transitioning away from manual rule sets and into an environment where defenses are fully dynamic, shifting in real time at machine speed. We are entering a critical 3-year window. The survival of digital infrastructure will hinge on how quickly organizations adopt fully automated frameworks. Organizations that ignore this transition face a brutal reality. If you rely on legacy security practices and keep defenses static, automated attackers will exploit those known gaps simultaneously. It acts as a digital wildfire, clearing out the underbrush of undefended networks. But for the organizations that adapt and integrate autonomous agents, the outlook is optimistic. This technology dramatically lowers the cost of custom software development, allowing any entity to build heavily tailored, highly resilient digital architectures. We are moving toward a state of diffused security. Because agentic defense scales without requiring a massive payroll of elite engineers, a local, underfunded public school district will possess the same caliber of automated protection as a trillion-dollar technology firm. By engineering trustworthy, autonomous AI, we move beyond basic survival. We permanently flip the asymmetry of cyber warfare to favor the defender.